Well, good evening and welcome to the Monday night edition of the People Show with yours truly, Mark Wallace, your host and facilitator of this Monday night edition of the People Show. And although they are probably not watching the program, I want to just say a few things. One, I want to wish all of the Mother's Day mothers, moms, mommies, mothers, muddeers, mommies, all of those mothers, mothers, period. I don't really believe in stepmothers. I believe that anybody who mothers, parents, is a parent. I don't believe in the whole step concept. If you're a parent, you're a mother, then you're a mother. So I want to wish all of the mothers, and I hope that you all had a tremendous celebration on yesterday, on Mother's Day, before we get into the seriousness of the discussions, the things that we got to talk about today. And but I want to say to you, I hope that you all had a tremendous, tremendous Mother's Day. Now every day is Mother's Day. Every day is Mother's Day, and but we corporately celebrate Mother's Day on yesterday, which was March the 11th. And then on yesterday was the 79th birthday of one of the most significant people who absolutely has played a significant role in my life. His name is Stuart Koff. He was my first employer, and he mentored me. He is like a father to me. And so I am his only black child, and we tease about that a lot. And but he employed me and kept me employed with him until they just weren't able to do it anymore. But he has been a friend, he's been a mentor, he's been a guide, and he is a big part of the reason that I have experienced some level of business success today, because of what he has invested in me. And I want to publicly acknowledge and wish Stuart Koff a happy 79th birthday. When I met Stuart, I was 16 years old. He was 30 years old when I met him in February of 1976. And we have been interconnected ever since then, for 49 years that we have been tethered together. With his children, I babysit his children when I was a teenager, and they're all now adults and parents and doing fine, doing well. And so I am excited about him being able to reach another year, 79 years of age and counting. And so I'm really excited about that. And then on yesterday was Mother's Day. Of course, we celebrated with the family, with 3 generations of mothers, my wife, my daughter, and her granddaughters, both our mothers. And we celebrated here at our home yesterday and had a great, tremendous time. And so I want to wish everybody again a happy, happy Mother's Day. I know every day is Mother's Day, but certainly yesterday was tremendous. It was our corporate Mother's Day. And then today, May the 12th, is the birthday of Brittany. I was going to call her Little Brittany, but she is 35 years of age today. So happy birthday to you, Brittany, and certainly I hope that you are celebrating. I know you're celebrating because you, like your mother, you do like to celebrate. And so I'm sure that you all are celebrating and having a good time. I saw a little snippet of you on Facebook as your mom was out with Mother's Day with her mom, your grandmother, on yesterday. You guys were out somewhere enjoying the day. All right. Well, and to everybody else who's got a birthday that I don't know, happy birthday to you. Well, there's been a whole lot of crying, whole lot of lying by your 47th. I'll call him that. I'm really trying to refrain from indulging in the adjectives that I tend to use to describe this character, but he is really a vile, despicable, lying person who just does not want to govern, really doesn't want to govern, doesn't want to go through the process of governing, trying to govern by the pen, and selling to people who just want to believe him and want to believe that he is doing something great. He is doing something great, all right, but not on a good great. And the world and we are going to feel it. And the poorest amongst us are going to feel it. We don't know the significance or who actually personally who's going to be feeling that. But the truth is, they are going to feel it based on decisions that he is making, just statements that he makes, words that he says, lies that he tells, whatever his motivations are. I'm not going to try to figure out what his motivations are, but they're not good. They're not good, whatever they are. I'm not a psychologist. I don't pretend to be a clinical psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever it is. But there is something vile about that individual who means nobody any good at all. Terrible judgment, no character, very lack of courage or conscience, period. And I saw this video, and I'm going to play it for us a little bit later. But I want to get into something else, and maybe I will start with that because I want to talk about things that I believe that are a lot more important that we need to be talking about. I shouldn't say a lot more important because he is in the office of the presidency, which is extraordinarily important. So it is important that we pay attention. It is important that we resist, and it's important. It is important, even if you supported that person, which I doubt any of you did, supported that person, or anybody that you know that supported that person, because they wanted and to believe in change. We were experiencing change. What was accomplished and the direction that we were going and the growth that historically we have benefited from, the progress that was made, the facts speak for themselves. There's an old saying that liars figures, the figures don't lie. The facts speak for themselves. It doesn't matter what your frustration is. It doesn't matter what your level of frustration is, period. I saw someone who articulated, or a video of someone who articulated it well at what happened, because he was frustrated and sick of people belly aching now about the decision that they made. I have had conversations with people who say, well, where are the black people at the demonstrations? I don't see the black people at the demonstrations all around the country. Why should black people be out demonstrating? Why? Why should black people be out demonstrating when it wasn't black people who did this? Black people, by and large, did what we knew was better for the country. Black people supported Kamala Harris, and black people would have supported Joe Biden if Joe Biden had stayed on the ticket, which in my view, he should have stayed on the ticket. It was a bad decision that the Democratic Party fell into this idea that Joe Biden couldn't beat Donald Trump. Well, Joe Biden was the only one who beat Donald Trump. And he would have, again, if all we would have done was to wrap our arms around someone who actually did great things during his presidency. Much better accomplishments than any of us would have imagined that Joe Biden would have accomplished. Was far more progressive than any of us imagined that he was, because he was not that progressive. But he came out of the gate with great progressive ideas, passed tremendous legislation, got tremendous legislation passed, and tremendous legislation that will be beneficial to millions and millions of people, poor people, middle-class people for decades to come, if it doesn't all get torn apart by this Republican Congress and this, whatever this is, as the presidency. Those are just the facts. It's not an opinion. Those are the facts of legislation that was passed. And regardless of what you feel, because your feelings are not facts and your thoughts are not the truth. Only the truth is the truth, and only the facts are the facts. Whatever way you feel doesn't mean that that is the fact. But you need to be properly informed so that you can understand why it is important to support not a party, but the party and the people and the ideology and the values that we most gain and benefit from. That's what we're supporting. Not being a sycophant or not being some loyalist, but you're loyal to what is best and you're loyal to what is beneficial to the masses. But I saw this meme today and I want to share it with you. And because I think that he articulated.
I'm going to say the meanest thing I could possibly say to these Trump voters posting self-pity videos because they're suffering due to his policies. Now, I don't do personal attacks, so I'm just going to tell you the truth, because sometimes the truth hurts. You don't get to complain. You definitely don't get to complain about the lack of leadership or ideas coming from Democrats, because we didn't do this to us. You did this to us. If you and I are driving down the interstate together and you reach over and grab the wheel, and you steer us into a 200-foot deep ravine full of lava and sharks because you think big interstate is corrupt and you thought it would be funny to shake things up, when I scream at you as lava sharks eat our legs, you don't get to be mad at me for being mad at you, because it was my idea to stay on the interstate, and it was your idea that ruined everything for both of us. You don't get to ask what Democrats would do differently with the economy. You don't get to ask what Democrats are doing to help us right now. Those are 2024 questions elections, but we're in 2025 consequences. This era of the United States right now, this is about the president you elected, the cabinet secretaries your Senate confirmed, the cowering Republicans you elected to obey him in Congress, and all of the very real consequences resulting. We told you these things were going to happen and we gave you lots of warnings, but you grabbed the wheel anyway. If you want to know what Democrats would do differently, look at the track record going back to the Great Depression. Economic growth, job growth, wage growth, retirement plan growth, all of these things have been better under Democratic leadership than Republican. If you like these things, you vote for Democrats because it's what Democrats do. I don't care if you like the Democratic candidate. I don't even care if you understand how the policies work. And I'm not going to ask you if you believe me, because every chart and every graph that matters at the highest level for the middle class proves me right over the past 100 years. I'm only going to ask you that over the next year and a half, you come to grips with this fact so you don't make the same mistake again.
I don't think that anybody could have articulated it any better, more succinct than any of us could understand or could do. But the truth is the truth. We've done better under Democratic leadership and representation in this country. Starting from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who led us out of the Great Depression. And the Great Depression was enhanced by two Republicans who imposed more tariffs. I wish I had that clip, because I would play that clip, and I probably do have that clip. I'm not sure if I have that clip, but I don't have that clip. If I had that clip, I would play that clip. But what we have is we have not, it's not even an administration. I wouldn't even call this an administration. I'm not sure what to label it, but it is not an administration. What we have is the lack thereof, because what they're administering is not what is good and not what is positive for you or any of us. That's what we have. But this is what many people out there decided. This is what 53% of white women said, that this, what we are under right now, is better than where we were going with the Biden administration and where we would have continued to go and grow with a Harris-Walz administration. So a Biden-Harris administration did tremendous accomplishments for the country, not just for Democrats, but for the country. The Harris-Walz administration would have continued working hard to do great things for the country, addressing serious issues, grappling with the problems that we have, that we're faced with today. The policies, because I'm speaking largely to a Black viewership and audience, but the policies that came out of the Harris or the Biden-Harris administration, many of those policies positively, directly impacted, in the short term and in the long term, the Black community. HBCUs, $16.5 billion benefited directly from the Biden-Harris administration. Never happened before in the history of this country. Child poverty cut in half, directly impacted more than 5.5 million families. Black families benefited from the child tax credit policy that came through the administration. Small business contracts, more than $60 billion in contracts, federal contracts, that Black and minority companies benefited from, because the Biden-Harris administration unbundled the appropriations and unbundled the contract so that small businesses could have. And I can go on and on and on and on and on. And then there are going to be times that I will succinctly go through those policies to remind us over the next year and a half, hoping that we will inform others and that we will encourage others not to make the same mistakes that they made and the same bad judgment that they made because of whatever, not liking Democrats, not liking the candidates. It's like he said, it doesn't matter. Are you telling me that you like this better? You like it because Donald Trump bloviates and that he just blusters with lies, giving you some placebo of a script that doesn't have any substance in it? But we see all of the chaos and all of the uncertainty, and we don't know what the level of problems are going to be. And here he talks about, maybe little girls will have $2 instead of $30. I want any one of you to tell me, when did your little sister ever have $30 for Christmas? Ever? Or anybody that you know of. They have $30. They're going to be going from $2 to no dolls. If in fact, they don't get this stabilized. Now, we've been saying for the longest that these tariffs, these taxes that Trump believed was the way to getting other countries to be more equitable, or whatever his philosophy was or is about that. But we knew that it was not going to hold. The experts were saying it was not going to hold, that it would never hold. And guess what? It was announced on yesterday that the tariffs are being rolled back 115%, 30% to 10%, which is still a 10% higher tax. That's precisely what it is. It is a 10% higher tax. So we don't know. We don't know how it's going to end up. But what we do know is that many of the CEOs, many of the experts that were even supporters of Trump said that this is not the way to go. One of the biggest MAGA donors that there is, Ken Griffin, said that this was a terrible thing to do. A multi-billionaire, other people all around were saying that this was not the right thing to do. And this is because this person is clueless. He doesn't get it. He is a terrible person of judgment. And I don't believe, based on his actions, that it really matters to him. And probably that is correct, that it does not matter to him, because if it did matter to him, he would not take the positions that he is taking. These positions that he's taking, he would not. He wouldn't take these positions. Then we find out that over in Qatar, which is one of our ally nations, that they are offering this $440 million gift to the president, which again is not going to make, first of all, it's inappropriate. Number one, it's inappropriate. Number two, it is going to cost millions and millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars, millions of dollars to retrofit the plane if in fact he accepts the plane, because they're going to have to take it apart. They're going to have to make sure that it doesn't have any bugs in it, doesn't have any wiring in it that will compromise the secrecy of this country. But you think that he is concerned about that? No, he's not concerned about that. And I would bet that none of his advisors are telling him that, because he doesn't really have any advisors. What he has is a bunch of yes people around him that are only going to do and move to what makes him feel good, but what is not good for the country. But that's where it is. That's where it is. So, and while he's doing this, he's, headed on his trip, right? While he's doing this, his family's over there cutting deals left, right, and center. Left, right, and center. And he's going along with this idea. What is habeas corpus, right? They're going to cut that. Doesn't even know what it means. But he wants to try to eliminate it. But he doesn't know what it means. And what it means for the average person. So I'm going to look it up. Habeas corpus. Donald Trump does not realize what this means. Doesn't even realize that it is within the law and in the Constitution. Habeas corpus meaning you shall have the body is a legal writ used to challenge the legality of a person's detention. He wants to suspend it so that he can detain people at his will. Now, of course, habeas corpus will not be suspended. And a more detailed explanation is habeas corpus is a fundamental right designed to protect against unlawful imprisonment and to ensure no one is held without legal justification. Now, we just had somebody else who was just released as a result of that. We had the young man who was released last week as a result of that. Donald Trump wants to suspend it so that he can reopen Alcatraz that was closed in 1963. And who knows what it will take to put it back together. And hopefully the Republicans have enough conscience of sound mind that they will not support even the effort of this man wanting to violate due process and wants to violate people's constitutional protections. One could only say that the reason that he wants to engage in this type of activity, to push the envelope, to see where he can find a crack, is that he wants to blow it all up so that he can position himself to be a ruler, a dictator, as well as to position himself to be able to stay in office without there being a democratic process. Now, this is not going to hold or happen because the courts are going to hold him at bay. The courts are not going to withhold him from any constitutional authority that he has as president, but the courts are also not going to allow for him to abandon the Constitution for his will, period. They are not going to do it. I'm going to come back to some of the things that we're talking about as it relates to Trump, because there are some other things that are going on in the news. Rahm Emanuel is hooking up with someone. There was an article about Rahm Emanuel hooking up with somebody here, going into the schools. I want to see if I can pull that article up. Now, what the motivations are behind it, it's anybody's guess. Is he trying to put himself back into the fold of getting into Chicago politics? Who knows? What's in his mind? Or is he trying to position himself so that he can come to a place like Chicago to position himself for a national position? So he teams up with the fired Navy admiral, retired Admiral Lisa Franchetti, who was unceremoniously fired by the Trump administration as leader of the naval operations for the United States, has teamed up with Rahm Emanuel on a program that encourages young people to continue their ROTC services in college. Quote, I'm focused on and am passionate about developing the next generation of leaders, Franchetti said on the Children's First Scholarship Fund that Emanuel, a former ambassador to Japan and critic of President Donald Trump, started with Chicago Public Schools to benefit students in the ROTC program. In Franchetti's first public statement since Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth fired her in a management shift with the new administration, in an exclusive interview, Franchetti declined to talk about her controversial exit or recent executive orders affecting the military, but she opened up about promoting military service no matter how she sits in who sits in the White House. ROTC and more broadly military service opened the doors of opportunity for me 40 years ago, and I am confident it will do the same for today's scholarship recipients, said Franchetti, who met Emanuel while he was ambassador of Japan and was pushing for an overhaul of the Navy's Japanese shipyard used by allied countries. The project was completed earlier this month. Quote, I think there are opportunities available to anyone who wants to raise their hand, Franchetti said, pressed on the new policy and bans transgenders people from the military. Franchetti said, I don't want to make comments on any specific policies because I think the military is a great opportunity for everyone to serve. So she and Rahm Emanuel are hooking up on that effort in Chicago. Now, Rahm Emanuel has gone down as mayor. We think that a great deal of that had to do with his expansion of photo enforcement. He is the person who brought photo enforcement to Chicago of speed cameras. Chicago is the only city in the state of Illinois that has speed cameras. There are 162 cameras. Lori Lightfoot lowered the threshold from 10 miles an hour to 6 miles an hour of people getting $35 tickets if you're going 6 miles above the speed limit. 6 miles. Now, theoretically and technically, it's 1 mile. Let me explain. because if you're driving 5 miles an hour in the state statute, a peace officer is not allowed to give you a ticket if the speed limit is 40 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour. You cannot get a ticket for going 5 miles over the speed limit. You are eligible for a ticket, eligible to be cited for a ticket at 6 miles an hour above the speed limit. Eligible. There is not a police officer that I know that I've spoken to, an actual live police officers in Chicago, police officers in other suburbs, who all have said that they would not pull somebody over to give somebody a ticket for going 10 miles over the speed limit. So the people who are driving 6 miles per hour over the speed limit are not the problem. The people who are driving 8 miles, 9 miles, 10 miles over the speed limit, these are people who are not the problem. The people who are the problem, and I wrote about this and I sent a letter to Daniel Laspada, who is the chair of the Pedestrian and Traffic Safety Committee, that they're having a committee hearing tomorrow on the considering these cameras or expanding these cameras. We sent in a letter along with the analysis that for speed cameras in each one of the committee members' wards, showing from the city's own data, not our data, but the city's own data, our data analyst. We've done an analysis of a 10-year analysis of the speed cameras. And so what we looked at is the speed camera program as a whole, and we also looked at the speed cameras that are in their respective wards. All of those members on the Pedestrian and Traffic Safety Committee. I'll read their names. I'll give you their names. I'll have to look it up. Go on the clerk's site, the City of Chicago clerk website, and pull that up so that to find out just who the members are on the committee. But anyway, we sent an email that gives a detailed explanation as to why they should not be expanding speed cameras in Chicago, and in fact should be eliminating them. Why? Because they do not provide any traffic safety benefits. I'm going to repeat it. Their own data from the city of Chicago proves that the cameras, the 162 cameras that they have put up, that has been in operation for 10 years, the same percentage of traffic crashes at the 162 locations over the 10-year period is precisely the same percentage as it is in the 16 plus the 23 locations where they've relocated cameras and the 16 locations where they want to put cameras. Is virtually no difference in the traffic crash statistic. 14.1 where 162 cameras are, 14.2 where there are no cameras, and in bicycle districts. There is virtually no difference. So what we really have here is a toll road system in the city of Chicago so that they can get people to pay tolls, $35 tolls, $100 tolls, because the real reckless drivers don't care anything about a $35 ticket, don't care about a $100 ticket, probably not even going to pay the tickets that they have, probably got loads of them because they don't care about them. And 80% of the accidents or better that are taking place have nothing to do with speed, nor do they have anything to do with park or school locations. Most of them are people who are recklessly driving on their cell phones or misjudging traffic, pulling out in front of another car, or something to that matter. Most of the accidents that happen in Chicago citywide. Why am I saying this? Because we have the data. We FOIA'd all of this information. Now, this is really going to blow your mind. We also FOIA'd the information from the company that calibrates and tests the equipment. And you know what their information says about the accuracy of the speed cameras? Their information says that the accuracy of the speed cameras are off by 0.062 miles per hour. What does that mean? That means if you were cited for a ticket or a violation with a ticket for going 6 miles above the speed limit, or you're going 26 miles an hour, which is 6 miles above the speed limit, you were in fact not going 36 miles or 26 miles or 6 miles over the speed limit. You were actually at 5.38. So you were doing 35.38 mile per hour. This is from their own records. This is from their own information that we FOIA'd from the city of Chicago. So we're not making anything up. I am repeating to you their own information. In fact, what I will do is next week, I will put it up on the screen so that you could see from their own document that says that the cameras are inaccurate at 0.62 miles per hour. So we are going to challenge that. That means that more than 30% of the tickets, because that's what they are, more than 30% of the revenue, more than 30% of the tickets that were issued at 26 miles an hour and 36 miles an hour should never have been issued. More than 30% of them are tickets at 26 miles an hour and 36 miles per hour over the speed limit. The cameras, the radar is off by 0.062. So if in fact you were driving, if you were ticketed at 6 miles an hour, you should never receive that ticket because it is inaccurate by 0.062 miles an hour. And we are going to look into another class action lawsuit. Now, we have alerted the city about this. We've alerted Daniel LaSpada about this. We've sent him an email, along with the analysis that we have done with all of the committee members' wards, plus a few others, that shows the statistics for the cameras in their respective wards. Now, I want to just go, let me pull up the names of the, let's see, City Council Division, and I want to pull up the City Council calendars. Let's see. I'm not sure why this is not showing it, but I'm gonna pull it up anyway because I want you to see it. Okay, let's see if this one pulls it up. City clerk, the alderperson, and let's see. Okay, city council meeting agenda. Okay, let's see if we get to. Okay, here we are, meeting calendar. That's what I wanted to get to. Because maybe your alderman is on this list and these are things that you can do. All right, so, all right, so they're loading in. So I'm pulling it up. I don't have my iPad here, so I'm pulling it up right now. Okay, so this meeting is taking place tomorrow, and maybe you can meet us at this meeting. All right, so this is the Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety. It says the committee on the committee meeting and subject matters hearing on Chicago speed cameras. There will be no vote will be taken on this matter. Written public comment deadline May 12th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Direct info. Intro deadline is May 6th, 2025. So this meeting, let's see. All right, so the members are Daniel Espada, who is the chair, Ruth Cruz, who's the vice chair, Brian Hopkins, Lamont Robinson, Desmond Yancey, Peter Chico, Marty Quinn, David Moore, Derek Curtis, Walter Burnett, Jason Irvin, Timothy Knudsen, Bennett Lawson, Matthew Martin, and Lenny Mana Hoppenworth. These are the members who are on the committee. All right, so you can contact them. I sent that letter to Daniel Espada. I am going to send the same letter to all 50 of the aldermen with the analysis so that they all can see that this system that is in place, speed cameras that are in place, even for those of you who believe in speed cameras, I want you to know the facts about speed cameras. I want you to know the facts about them. We have the analysis. We have been working on this for more than, well, first of all, we've been working on the exposing the corruption and certainly exposing the invalidation of the cameras for more than, I think it's now 15 years that we have been working on this. I had a whole lot of black hair when we started this effort. And but we are continuing to fight because we have to approach and we have to address these issues that are plaguing our city. Now, we want for our city to be governed, and we want for our city to run well. And there has to be engagement from the public, because the aldermen, the mayor, the commissioners, the Cook County Board president, the state reps, state senators, they don't get it right. And they don't get it right more often than we would like to believe. But it is the responsibility of you and I. We have to be engaged in the process if we want for things to be better, to work better. We have to be engaged in the process. We have to understand what the information is. We have to research it. And if we don't like it, then we have to do, like I like to repeat, like Barack Obama said at the end of his second term, get a clipboard, get other like-minded people, and get active and start addressing those people who make these decisions. Now, the people who are in office now, largely, most of them were not the people who decided to put photo enforcement in place. That all started under the Richard M. Daley administration in 2003. It was expanded under Rahm Emanuel by bringing in speed cameras. Many of the people who are there now, some who are there now, voted on bringing in speed cameras. We have now had speed cameras in force now 12 years. We did a 10-year analysis on the city's information, not numbers that we have made up. It is the city's information. We FOIA'd the information. We FOIA'd all the crash data. We FOIA'd the operations manual of the speed cameras, which they are refusing to give to us. We had to file a lawsuit in court. We're going to court on the 19th. We had to file a lawsuit to try to get the courts to force the city to release the operations manual of speed cameras. Why don't you want to release the operations manual? Well, they consider it, or saying that it is proprietary information, which we believe is inaccurate. So we've FOIA'd all of this information. We have a data analysis, or analyst, a data analyst, who are breaking down all of the numbers. And what the numbers largely show is that traffic crashes are up almost 1,000 more crashes a year, starting from 2017 up to 2024 or 2023, because they have not released 2024's information, which we don't understand why they haven't released 2024's information, because 2023, 2022 was available in January, and the same thing about 2021, same thing about 20. So we're not understanding why we don't have that information available for us about 2024. So we're looking at all of this information on a factual basis, and it is the city's own information. And so what we have here is the city trying to justify the mayor, the city council, the Chicago Department of Transportation, all trying to justify maintaining a system that they continue to believe that it provides safety benefits. The statistics clearly demonstrate otherwise. Now, when they get the information If they ignore the information and they decide to continue to support a system that is not providing us with traffic safety or pedestrian safety, it is not. If it is, why is the revenue going up? If in fact it's working, if it is causing people to drive better, then that would mean that the revenue would be going down. The other thing that we demonstrated is that when the revenue would go down, when the revenue would go down, then they would make these changes. Let me pull up a part of the letter that I sent to the mayor, and I want to I'm gonna share this with you. Let's see. If I could put it on the screen, I would. But I don't know if I can. Okay. Okay, let's see. All right. Well, let me see here. Okay, here are the results. These are pre-numbers, right? These are pre-numbers of the speed camera crashes 2012 and 2013. Now, these are numbers pre speed cameras. In 2012, there were 3,765. In 2013, there were 3,908. 2013, the cameras went into effect. The 2014 reports that there were 4,213 in 2014. In 2015, there were 4,435. This is all from the cities that we FOIA their information. In 2015, there were 4,435. In 2016, there were 4,816. In 2017, there were 5,541. These all numbers are post the implementation of cameras. In 2018, there were, these are citywide numbers, there were 2,874. In 2019, 2,492. In 2020, of course, we can't even include 2020 because we were shut down in 2020 and 2021. And then we go, now these are numbers prior to. Now I'm going to give you the post numbers, and then I'm going to give you the pre implementation numbers. Then I'm going to give you the post numbers. All right. So in 2014, there were 4,213. After the cameras had been installed, there were 13,805. There were 15,880 in 2015, 18,191, 19,211. These are all after the cameras were installed. Now, after we have 284 red light cameras and 162 speed cameras, and now they want to add more. Now, I'm going to go, I wish I could put this up on a screen so you could actually, so that you could actually see it. Let me go back to my emails. Um, let's see. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Um, these were some of the numbers and some of the facts that I tried to provide to the mayor, but they wanted for us to provide them in writing, but we were not told that until the end. So I was going to approach the mayor with this, but we're sending it to the city council. So let me see if I can pull up that email, and I want to share that with you. I think, let's see. Okay. All right. So here's some interesting information I want to provide you. I told you before, the cameras are 0.62 miles per hour margin of error in the radar equipment, which translate to about 30% of the violations that should never have been given. Almost 1 in 3 tickets should never have been given. The analysis of accidents pre and post speed camera implementation show little to no reduction in accidents within 1/8 of a mile of a speed camera or speed safety school or park location. This all comes from the city's information. We have included in our letter the analysis of each committee alderman's highest ticketed speed cameras to support their own conclusions. The city's own annual report shows that people learn to drive slower, but this does not translate into less accidents or injuries. Why? Because the accidents and injuries are not related to speed, and they certainly are not related to parks or school. Comparing the crash data for the 162 existing camera locations with the currently announced 16 new locations show that there is basically the same percentage of accidents currently at the 16 locations that have never had speed cameras as there are the 162 locations that have speed cameras. For the last 10 years, that analysis we did over a 10-year period. Now, here are some of what I call the ironic coincidentals. The automated speed camera program began in 2014. The number of speed violations and revenue dollars at that time started at a very high level. The number of violations and revenue dollars declined from 2014 to 2020 as people learned how to avoid the cameras or to drive slow through the speed zones, so to avoid getting tickets. To boost revenues back up, Lori Lightfoot lowered the violation threshold from 10 miles an hour over the speed limit to 6 miles per hour over the speed limit. This instantly took tickets from 1,100 tickets a day to 11,000 tickets a day. So what are the cities now doing? They are adding 50 more safety zone to boost backup violations and ticketing revenue once again. The crazy thing is that there has not been a marketed improvement in safety or injury rates as it claims to be the primary benefit from the automated speed enforcement program around schools and parks. Some facts. Traffic crashes in 23 and 24 were at the levels seen prior to the start of the automated speed cameras. The 21 cameras that were installed or relocated from March 22nd through May of 2023 can be shown to have not resulted in any measurable improvement in fatality or injury, traffic crashes, or pedestrian and bicycle crashes within an eighth of a mile of the cameras. The 16 new cameras starting on April 1, 2025 already meet percentage fatality rate and percentage injury rates and percentage pedestrian and bicycle crash rates that in crash in state that is already exhibited for traffic crashes within 1/8 of a mile of 162 cameras that have been in place for the past 10 years. Those are some of the assailing or pertinent facts that you need to be aware of. So that I'm asking you to contact your alderperson, to contact your alderman and tell your alderman that they are to vote no, that you want them to vote no on the expansion of speed cameras, and that they must end this policy that there is no safety benefits from. It is really a placebo to give you a feeling that something is happening. It is no different than ShotSpotter. The only difference in ShotSpotter is that ShotSpotter cost us $48 million, and the red light cameras bring in the speed cameras bring in almost $80 million a year. So the entire enforcement of red light cameras and speed cameras are well over $100 million a year, to which we receive no benefit. We receive no safety benefit from it. It is not saving lives. Now, they will tell you that if we save one life, then it's worth the $100 million that it is taxing everyday ordinary citizens that have nothing to do with the traffic crashes that are actually taking place. Nothing to do with that. So what I'm asking for you all to do is to meet us at City Hall tomorrow. Let me go back, see if I can pull the schedule back up. Hopefully I didn't. Let me pull the schedule back up. To tell you exactly where the meeting is. And I really hope that many of you would show up, because this is the only way that we actually get change. It's the only way that we stop them from doing things that we don't want them to do. And it is let's see if I can get to the meeting calendar. Let's see if I can get to the meeting calendar. Okay, here we go. Meeting calendar. Maybe they make it meeting calendar. Here we go. Not so convenient for you to get to, but we're going to be patient with it. And here it is right here. All right. So tomorrow's meeting is at 12:30 p.m. And it is, let's see. All right, location, City Council Chamber, second floor, 121 North LaSalle, Chicago. May 13, 12:30, schedule of meetings. The meeting, let's see. I don't know if they're doing it by Zoom, but I would imagine that they're going to do it by Zoom. So I'm going to actually go to this meeting tomorrow. I'm going to go to this meeting and I'm going to see if, in fact, they will give us the opportunity to speak at the meeting tomorrow. And if you can come to the meeting, it's at 121 North LaSalle on the second floor, City Council chambers. That this meeting will be taking place. So join us at that meeting tomorrow, as we will see what kind of discussions go on tomorrow. I can almost predict what those discussions will look like tomorrow, but Jason Irving will find ways to justify the cameras unless there has been some sort of epiphany with him with respect to the cameras because of the revenue. Now, I can certainly say in somewhat of a defense for somewhat of a defense, now not justifying cameras, but in defense of Jason Irving, that he has acknowledged, he has come to, I would say he's come to the cusp and acknowledged that if in fact we got rid of the cameras, that would leave a hole in the budget. He said that in meetings. Now, he has not said that he supports cameras because of the revenue, but he certainly has made that comment. Like I said, I'm not a proponent or supporter of Jason Irving. I am not. I'm not a supporter of his at all. And, you know, he lost his seat once. I wish that you know, I wish there would be somebody else who would run against him that could be a much stronger proponent for fighting against having regressive policies like speed cameras and red light cameras. They are regressive policies. They are not policies that benefit us. They are not policies that benefit us. When I read to you the facts, the figures don't lie. Remember, liars' figures, the figures don't lie. The only thing that we're giving you are the figures, and you can get them yourself, and you can corroborate them yourself. In fact, we had a conversation with somebody, one of the consultants, is what they said that they were, one of the consultants within the Chicago Department of Transportation. We asked for him to validate or invalidate the information that we got from the city. He said that he wouldn't even be able to take a look at it until next week, which is this week. Not understanding why you are a consultant at the Chicago Department of Transportation, but yet you cannot respond to the actual data that demonstrates that there is no safety benefit for these cameras. And if there were safety benefits for the cameras, if it were causing for people to drive better, then that would mean that the revenue would be going down, is what you want. You want for the revenue going down because it's telling you that people are driving better. Well, if that's the case, then why are you trying to find ways to ramp the revenue back up? They will say, because it's working at other locations, we're going to put them at another location. Well, we've already told you and showed you that the traffic crash data is virtually the same where you have cameras and where you don't have cameras. The same. If they're working, then how is it that locations that don't have cameras, which are the 16 locations that you're talking about putting them, if locations that don't have cameras, if the cameras are working, then that would mean that the crash rates and data would be lower at the locations that have cameras than the locations that don't have cameras. Help us understand that. Help us to understand that. It is, in fact, not something that you can. That's the truth of it. You can't. Because it's not working. All right, so asking you all to join us. Now, what I do need, before I move on, I need, because we are going to continue to push this, there's going to be a story coming out later on this month on Channel 7 that we're doing in Channel 2 as it relates to this, because we're going to push the mayor and we're going to push the city council to do the right thing. And if the mayor does not do the right thing, then he may fall victim as his predecessor fell victim because of what she actually did and refused to reverse that decision. Rahm Emanuel almost succumbed to this, but Rahm Emanuel shut down 20% of the red light cameras before he got elected, and then got elected and expanded speed cameras. Lori Lightfoot lowered the threshold from 10 miles an hour to 6 miles an hour, increased traffic violations from 1,100 a day to 11,000 a day. They were issuing tickets every 12 seconds in the city of Chicago as a result of that change. When the numbers start to go down, what happens now? Brandon Johnson runs for mayor. Brandon Johnson tells me in a sit-down discussion that we had that he was going to look for ways to eliminate the cameras. This was 2 weeks before he announced. He announced his candidacy. Then on the campaign, at a debate with Channel 2 and at a debate on Fox, he said, and I'll find that clip, he said that he would actually do something about speed cameras. Let me see if I can find that clip. This was during the campaign. He was asked that question. I hope I maintain that clip. Hopefully I maintain that clip. Here it is here. He was asked the question, would they do something about speed cameras? This is during the campaign, during a debate on Fox.
So, Brandon Johnson, as mayor, would you consider, given the fact that a lot of these citations were written to those who live in minority communities, people of color got a lot of these tickets, would you consider returning that threshold to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, or even perhaps getting rid of a lot of these speed cameras? As mayor, would you consider that?
Yes. You know, as I indicated earlier, $1.2 billion from property taxes, fines, and fees under the Emanuel administration. The $2.5 billion tax bill that the people of Chicago are responsible for because of the politics of old, in which Paul Wallace has been a contributor to that. Look, I'm prepared and willing to look at this contract. I have to see the details, right? Because I'm not quite sure what the makeup of the contract is. But here's what I'm also considering. If we can't phase and remove this out, I'm prepared to make sure that whatever revenue is generated in a particular zip code, the revenue should stay in that zip code. But what we ultimately have to do is move away from these fines, taxes, and fees and make sure that the ultra rich contribute and pay their fair share in taxes. That's what the people of Chicago have called for.
Will you meet that challenge?
Yes, absolutely. But let me point out that his tax plan isn't taxing the ultra rich.
There you go. There you go. Both of them said it, right? Both of them said it. He says we have to move away from it. Well, adding 50 new speed cameras is not moving away from fines and fees. And if his justification is because the ultra rich are not paying their fair share, then I must tax the most vulnerable, or I must keep a policy in place so that we can continue to get that revenue until we can get that revenue from someplace else. That's essentially what he's saying by these decisions. Now, he'll have, his people in city council that will say different. He'll have that. He'll have those people who will say different. But they're really not telling the truth, which is why we should not allow for people to represent us that are not going to tell the truth. Hey, listen, I'm going to open up the phone lines. If you want to give me a call at 951-221-8221, you're welcome to do so. And about anything that we have discussed thus far. It just never ceases to amaze me. Somebody sent me President Donald Trump called Disney CEO Bob Iger to do something after an ABC reporter did what? Let's see what this story says. Trump calls on Disney CEO to do something after ABC reporter insists Pope's election had nothing to do with Trump. President Donald Trump called on Disney CEO Bob Iger to do something after an ABC reporter insisted Pope Leo's selection had nothing to do with Trump. During Sunday's edition of This Week with George Stephanopoulos, while broadcasting from the Vatican, ABC News reporter Martha Raddatz agreed with a statement made by her fellow correspondent Terry Moran about how President Trump had no influence on Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost becoming the first U.S.-born American to lead the Roman Catholic Church. It was clear that the cardinals very quickly came to a conclusion based on the needs of the church now and who Cardinal Prevost was, Moran stated. The question that we had was, how much did the American moment with President Trump matter? They're telling us not at all. It was him that mattered, he added. They're telling us not at all. It was him that mattered, meaning it was the Pope. That's what we've been hearing this morning. Raddatz agreed it was him. Trump took the Truth Social and to voice his frustration with not being acknowledged for his part in Pope Leo's ascendance to his holiness. How could he even? I mean, it is so pathetic. He didn't even know who Pope Leo was. He had no idea who Pope Leo was. I guarantee you he didn't know that the man even existed. He's never met him. He had no idea. He's never even mentioned his name. So he had no idea who he was. So funny to watch an old timer, Martha Raddatz on ABC Fake News. This is Donald Trump quote. So funny to watch an old timer, Martha Raddatz on ABC Fake News, the Stephanopoulos show this morning, blurt out that effectively Pope Leo's selection had nothing to do with Donald Trump. The president wrote, "It came out of nowhere, but it was on her Trump deranged mind." He continued, quote, "I did win the Catholic vote by a lot, of course. Bob Iger should do something about the losers and haters he's got on his low-rated shows. It's time for change, MAGA." And of course, he has exclamation 3 times. Now, let me just say that the man never ever ceases to surprise anybody with how with his nonsense. There was here it says in a this is another report that God Save the Church. MAGA host says the new Pope does not bode well for Trump supporters. So MAGA influence Jack Posobiec warned supporters of President Donald Trump that the new Pope did not bode well for them. Following the election of Pope Leo XIV on Thursday, Posobiec shared his thoughts in a broadcast from Rome on Real America's Voice. "Absolute shock," the host said. "What I'm seeing from his social media does not bode well for Trump supporters, because we are seeing things here where he's attacking J.D. Vance and not years ago, very recently promoting anti-Trump and anti-Burkle articles regarding the deportations of criminals, illegals to the United States. He was attacking that less than 3 weeks ago." So this Pope had nothing to do with Donald Trump, or Donald Trump had nothing to do with this Pope. Let me go to the caller 312. Go right ahead, caller. Who's this? Hello. You're on. Who's the caller on 2528? Hello? Okay, I'm gonna when you come back, maybe you call me back. Call me back, because if you're on, I was trying to hear you, so call me back again, okay? Okay, let's see. Okay, we're gonna start again. Let's see if we can.
Ready to connect.
Let's see if we can bring it
the
back.
show now. You are connected as the host.
All right.
Welcome, host.
Okay.
You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface.
All right, we're gonna try you once again. Hello. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
No, I was on, but I had another call, Mark. Everything's okay, and no question.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much. Is this Paul?
Yeah, Mark, it's me.
Okay.
The one and only.
All right, Paul. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. All right. So listen, if anybody else wants to call in, you have a comment, 951-221-8221, 951-221-8221. So we're going to be down tomorrow at City Council, 1230, 121 North LaSalle, second floor. Try to make sure, you got to go through security check there, that sort of thing. Try to not bring a whole bunch of stuff so you don't have to end up taking everything out. So so we'll be down tomorrow. The other thing I want to ask you to do is that we have the opportunity. We have a tremendous opportunity to really impact and influence this next election that's coming up. There is going to be a new U.S. senator. I know that they are talking about people who joined the race, and they're talking about Juliana Stratton. They're talking about Raja from the north side, and Robin Kelly from the south side. Now, I, as the executive director for 10 by 10 to Win, am not making any announcements about supporting any candidates because we do that as a collective. Now, what I am asking you is to join us and to become a part of the voting block. We are building and organizing a Black independent voting block of Black voters in Chicago and Cook County. Now, we have more than 1.7 million registered voters in Chicago and Cook County and the surrounding areas. We have the most crucial vote. There is nobody who can win an election, whether it's citywide, countywide, or statewide, without getting the majority of the Black vote. We become the determining factor of who wins general elections or even primary elections. So what I am calling for us to do is to build our own independent block, in that we as a collective determine who it is, if we want to select who the candidate becomes, meaning that we can select a candidate, get them on the ballot, and then we can elect them, because we will lobby for them, we will campaign for them, we will raise funds for them. All we need to do is to build our block. If we build a block from 1.7 million registered voters, if we build a block of 200,000 voters, we could raise enough money between the 200,000 of us paying $10 a month. We could raise $1 million a month. We could raise $1 million a year. That will be tremendous support for supporting the candidate that we would ultimately have our own internal process and vote to support a candidate or select a candidate from within our own, or to select a candidate that we will support. Who knows? There are other people out there that may be of interest. But what I want to say is that we have the opportunity to do this. We have the opportunity to do this. Now, if you would text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385, text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385. All right, I'll put that in the chat so that you can see it there. Text to 855-909-1385. And what we are doing is putting a block together. We're putting it together. No one person makes the decision. I don't make the decisions. We collectively make the decision. This is how we build a strong voice so that we can do multiple things. We can elect representatives. We can get rid of people who we don't think that are favoring policies that strengthen the Black community. And we can elect people. We can select and elect people, and having that influence, just having the influence, means that you have enormous power. Why? Because when you have 200,000 votes in the major region where we are here in Chicago, we have 200,000 votes. That means that every candidate that is running or wants to run are going to have to come by us. Why? Because we have put ourselves in a position of strength like we have never had before. When we put ourselves in a position, they then have to come to us, and meaning that they have to come to us and they have to offer substance. Doesn't mean that they're going to get our support, but what it demonstrates to us is what power actually looks like. And when we start to see that, when you start to visibly see that organizing is power, you don't have to pick up the phone to call anybody. They will be picking up the phone to call to see if they can get an audience with us. 200,000 people in an organized block will draw national attention because it's never been done before. You won't find it ever happening anywhere else before. But we have the opportunity right here in this region to organize the strongest, most powerful voting bloc, I dare say, that could be more influential than any other voting bloc in the country because of the national attention that we will draw. That's what we will have the power to do. And so I am saying to us, let's focus on doing that, on organizing this block, giving ourselves a tremendous voice. And you will demonstrate to yourself, not to me, but to yourself and to others, what real organized power looks like and what real organized power actually does. You don't even have to get into the political nuances. That's not anything that you have to get into. You really don't have to get into that. What you do have to do is what you want to demonstrate to yourself is, what is my power? What is my power? Individualism is not power. Having an individual voice, you can have an individual voice, but having an individual voice as a part of a collective, that's where power is. And that's what I'm trying to get us to see, is that while we have to continue advocating for, and we have to continue fighting for what is right and what is righteous and what is equitable, we have to continue doing that. But what I am saying that we have to do is that we have to strategically move differently than we have moved in the past. And we have to move independent, meaning that our independence is our decision, not based on someone who is in a political office, not based on the governor, not based on the mayor, not based on the Cook County Board president, but based on the power of the voters. It is the power of the people. It is time for us to finally put that together, to reach out to other organizations or people in other organizations that you know, and to encourage people there that, look, what we're doing is we're not asking for anybody to abandon organizations that they're a part of. We're simply saying, let us bring ourselves together. Let's mobilize ourselves together. Let's strategically talk and discuss, and we come up with a collective decision on who we want and who we are going to support. And then we support and we put that person in place. We're going to elect a person locally here at the state level who will represent us on a federal level. And because we demonstrate that power, we will send a message to every other elected official that represents our communities. We have 22 state representatives that are Black. We have 10 state senators that are Black. Most of them are from our region. We have a Speaker of the House that is Black. That's a part of the 22. We have a Lieutenant Governor who is Black. We have a Cook County Board President who is Black. We have 6 Cook County Board Commissioners that are Black. We have 20 Black aldermen. We have a Black mayor. So this means that we have a tremendous power, because those people got our votes. While we have more Black people into public spaces, the Black people and the Black public have been largely locked out. So what I am saying to you, and what I'm trying to encourage us to do, is to band ourselves together. Get people to join the text alert so that they can receive the Zoom meeting link for Thursday night. Let's have one of the most well-attended Thursday night meetings that we've had to discuss strategy. We know about issues. Last week, we had a great conversations because we heard from each person who was on the call talking about what's important to them. And what I was getting to and what I wanted to demonstrate is this, is that recognizing what your values are, your value system, meaning the things that interest you, the things that you really care about, we have to support them in a collective. We move the needle forward in a collective. But the first thing that we have to do is to get power to make decisions that we want to have made, not to follow what somebody else is saying to us that you have to do. For instance, I'm a registered Democrat. I'm going to be a Democrat. I support largely the values and the accomplishments that Democratic representatives and Democrats have gotten for our community over the past 100 years to where we are today. Republicans is not the answer. However, we have to make Democrats do better by us, because in a great degree, Democrats have taken our vote for granted. They have taken our vote for granted. Now, what I'm saying is, you don't blow up the system, right? You don't do as the video that I played earlier says, that you don't, because you think that the highways there's some corruption, that you drive us into a ravine. What we do is we bring ourselves together so that we can strengthen ourselves to make the party and the representatives that we largely support work better at delivering to and for our communities. That's what I am saying. What our strategy is. Doesn't need to be a secret. But what we need to do is in fact, it needs to be loud and clear. In fact, it needs to be to where they see that we are organizing in a way that we have never done before. We've never done it. We've never done it here. We've never done it anywhere in the country. Now, there are not a lot of places where we have this vast body of Black voters in one major metropolitan region. So I'm not even talking about, any particular candidate. What I'm talking about is us as voters. We as voters, we as a Black, strategic, resourced community. We have the numbers. We have the numbers to determine any office in Illinois: mayor, alderperson, board president, board commissioner, state rep, state senator, governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, city treasurer. We have the power in the numbers to do it if we built and strategically organized ourselves together. See, everybody else is organizing themselves together. Project 2025, they organized themselves together. No matter, they took all these different groups, small and large, and brought them all together to put together and support a 922-page manifesto that was destructive. But that's what they did. We can put together, right here in this region, and become the most powerful union of black voters the country has ever seen, and to be a model for what real strategic voting power actually looks like. And we can institutionalize it, that it goes far beyond me, far beyond you, that for generations coming behind us, that we have something in place that is more powerful than Rainbow Push, that's more powerful than the Urban League, that's more powerful than the National Action Network. Now, I am not saying that those organizations are not important. What I am saying is what we're building is the voting power and the power to move legislation through organizing our strategy of a voting bloc that will be able to continue to use the voice of Rainbow Push, use the voice of National Action Network, use the voice of the Urban League. We institutionalize that power to be able to make the kinds of policy changes that we need to have made, to be able to show up to city councils, show up to general assemblies. Can you imagine if tomorrow, that even 500 of us showed up at the city council tomorrow? Now, all 500 of us wouldn't be able to get in there, but guess what? It will send a significant message to the city council, to the entire body. There's only going to be 15 people in the committee meeting. But if we were to show up in those kind of numbers tomorrow, as a collective, 10 by 10 to win, supporting the efforts of citizens to abolish red light cameras, to rid us of a policy that statistically is not providing us with any benefits. Now, I gave you some of the raw data. And we're going to post that data. We're going to post that data and put that data in the hands of all of the news media outlets. We're going to put with all of them. I'm sending it to all of them. So we are going to demonstrate to them. But guess what? Information without support, information and advocacy without support doesn't mean that it's not important, but it will have so much more weight to have people behind us. So I don't know if it could go viral, if you could get people out tomorrow at 12:30 at 121 North LaSalle, that we could have a couple of hundred people there, 100 people there. That would be a significant showing. All right, text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385. If you are already in the text alert, share it with 5 other people, 10 other people. Get them in the text alert. Have them to share it with one other person. Get them in a text alert. Let's see if we can get the text alerts registrations to go off on my phone this week, unlike we've ever heard. Because every time somebody registered for 10 by 10 to win through the text alert, I get an alert. And so there was one already this weekend that we got an alert. Let's get more into that. Even if you have to help them do it themselves, all they have to do is text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385. Now, let me humor us a little bit. I want to show something to you. Now, this is a letter that the Secretary of Education, who probably doesn't have a lot of education, the Secretary of Education sent to Harvard University, the oldest established university in the country, probably in the world, threatening the university president to bend the knee. She sent this letter to the university. Now, this letter that is full of grammatical errors and misspell errors. So the university sent the letter back marked up with all its grammatical and errors and misspelling. And I believe there are more than 20 of them. I believe that there are more than 20 of them that are on this letter. You see this letter? This letter was sent by the Secretary of Education. And the Secretary of Education, who sent this letter to threaten, well, I guess the president of Harvard, Secretary of Education. Now, you all know who the Secretary of Education is, right? Linda McMahon is the Secretary of Education. We don't know if her education is how far beyond watching people use fake chairs and jumping off of ropes and, you know, fake blood and all that kind of stuff and fake wrestling matches, you know, entertaining people. We don't know how much education beyond that she actually has. But we clearly know that she doesn't know the difference between A1 sauce and AI. And she obviously did not have somebody to spell check and to grammar check a letter that she wrote to threaten an educational institution. This is what is represented at the highest level of government, is what we have and what some people thought was better than what we had. Unfortunate. Anyway, more importantly, I want to go back to, please, let's do this thing. Let's do whatever we have to do. If you want for me to even come to a organization meeting that you have, or a tea, or someplace in your neighborhood on the west side, south side, I don't care where. Whether it's 2 or 3, 4 or 5, 10 or 15, 100, to talk about the strategy of what 10 by 10 is, I am open to that. You can contact me, call me, 773-617-2042. You can do that. You can get in touch with me. I'll put it in the chat. We're almost done for tonight, but I'm going to put it up anyway. You can call me and we can talk and try to make this happen. Listen, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Thank every one of you for tuning in to the program. Go to my YouTube page. Look for Mark J. Wallace, The People's Show. Register there. No subscription cost. Continue to watch the podcast every Monday night right here on intellectualradio.com and iHeartRadio. Thank you so much. Good night. Stay in the fight.